You played your heart out. 9 yards. Boy, that's gotta hurt.
9 yards what?
Records are meant to be broken, but that doesn't necessarily mean they will be. Some records have stood for ages, but some players have gotten tantalizingly close to tying or even breaking them. From single-season TD records to records we thought would never even be approached, these guys tried hard as They say nobody remembers who finished second. Well, today we're gonna do just that. Almost Records is coming up right after this. Fall is finally here, and you know what that means? Football. But what doesn't stop when football is on? The need to eat. And we all know grocery shopping, meal planning, and watching your diet all sucks. That's where HelloFresh comes in. HelloFresh delivers pre-portioned meals right to your door, so whipping up a homemade meal is as easy and as simple as the Giants' offense. With over 40 chef-crafted recipes like this chicken sausage spaghetti I am making, you have options. From family-friendly to fit and wholesome, HelloFresh has you covered. And hey, if it seems like you're still hungry after a HelloFresh meal, you can add snacks, sides, and more. There's over 100 add-on items. For me, I like just knowing that I don't have to guess what I'm eating for the weekend. I don't have to go anywhere. So after this video, go to HelloFresh.com and use code 55points at checkout for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, that's HelloFresh.com from the link below and use code 55points for 50% off plus free shipping. Adrian Claiborne / OC Umenyiora. Falcons defensive end Adrian Claiborne's remarkable performance in a game during the 2017 NFL season is certainly one to remember, even if most football fans, well, don't. On November 12, 2017, Claiborne managed to record an impressive 6 sacks in Atlanta's 20-point victory over the Dallas Cowboys. But Claiborne fell just short of immortality. The NFL single-game sack record is held by the legendary late Kansas City Chiefs linebacker Derek Thomas, who recorded an astonishing 7 sacks in a game against the Seattle Seahawks in November of 1990, in just his second season in the NFL. Thomas buried Seahawks quarterback Dave Krieg in what felt like every other play, breaking the previous record of 6 held by 49ers defensive end Fred Dean. Claiborne wasn't the only pass rusher to brush up with single-game greatness. OC Umenyiora had a bit of a coming-out party in 2007, dropping Eagles quarterback Donovan McNabb 6 different times as the Giants recorded an astounding 12 sacks in a 16-3 win, putting the Eagles QB into the ground so many times they started contacting local funeral homes. Ultimately, even in the midst of a passing age, it's going to be hard to touch Derek Thomas's record. The quick game eliminates too many opportunities at a sack, and coaches are competent enough to chip and double team elite pass rushers to the point of effectively silencing them before they can hit 7 or even 8. That's not to say that it will never happen, but it's going to be a tall order. Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson, like Barry Sanders before him, was equal parts dominant and something of a tease. The dominance was easy to understand and see every time he touched the field, but his career ended frustratingly early, a testament to the incompetence of the Lions organization and their inability to keep their superstars happy. Matt Stafford. On one fateful day in 2013, Megatron was particularly unstoppable against the Cowboys again, but fell just short of having the greatest game we've ever seen from a single wide receiver. With each reception, Megatron almost etched his name into the record books with an awe-inspiring 300-plus yard game and brought himself closer to the illustrious record set by Flipper Anderson in 1989. Anderson's record of 336 receiving yards in a single game had seemed unassailable for decades, but Johnson was inching ever closer to taking the throne away. And if you want to learn more about that game for Flipper Anderson, I made a whole video on it. In the waning moments of the game, Johnson's yardage total reached 329, a mere 7 yards away from tying Anderson's record. Despite Johnson's heroic efforts, he fell just short of the mark, not logging another catch. The game concluded with Johnson amassing said yards on 14 receptions, picking up his final 39 yards on a game-winning drive that culminated in a Matthew Stafford touchdown run with just 14 seconds left in the game. Had the Lions parkied the game-winning extra point, Johnson might have been afforded the extra period that Anderson used to beat the record previously held by Chiefs receiver Stephon Page. And Anderson did it all with Jim Everett throwing him the rock. Megatron's 329 yards might be more impressive, not just because of overtime, but because of who he was. The Saints didn't know how to double Anderson. The Cowboys knew Calvin Johnson was Calvin Johnson, and they double-teamed him more than Sky Bree when the rent is due. Adrian Peterson. There's no reason Adrian Peterson should have eclipsed 2,000 yards or won MVP in 2012. He was just months removed from a devastating knee injury that would have ended his career had he been born a decade or so earlier. But AD wasn't human, or at least not human like us, and in the wake of his recovery, he came oh so close to the greatest rushing season of all time. It didn't start out easy. Peterson didn't even record his first 100-yard game until week 4, and didn't have consecutive 100-yard games until week 7 and 8, when it was clear that he was back at full strength. As the season progressed and the Vikings emerged as contenders, even with Christian Ponder at quarterback, Peterson's production became more and more than just a comeback story. It became a historic pursuit. With each game, he chipped away at Eric Dickerson's single-season record, showcasing his ability to break through tackles, accelerate past defenders, and explode into the open field, just like diarrhea after Taco Bell. Did I mention he blew out his knee in December of 2011? Peterson's 210 yards against Green Bay set a new standard, and 2 weeks later he dashed for 212 more yards against the Rams. In a game against the Green Bay Packers, Peterson put forth a valiant effort, but he fell just short of breaking the record. Despite rushing for 199 yards in that game, he finished the season with 2,097 yards, 8 yards short of Eric Dickerson's record. Just think to how many runs he might have had called back because of a dumb holding call. With said rushing yards, he was just 9 yards shy of writing his name in NFL lore as the new single-season rushing king. Peterson beat out Peyton Manning for MVP, dragged Minnesota to an unlikely playoff berth, and saw the season go up in smoke in the wild card round against the said Packers. It's unlikely that even with 17 games, anyone touches Dickerson or Peterson. The days of the bell cow back are behind us, and the Derrick Henrys of the world are fading while the committee approach becomes the best option. Lester Hayes. Lester Hayes may not have set the single-season record for interceptions, but he does have the record for the worst nickname in NFL history. Lester the Molester had a true coming-out party in 1980. The same season the Raiders won their second Super Bowl, picking off an outrageous 13 passes on his way to earning Defensive Player of the Year honors. Hayes was a machine for most of the season. He started the year with interceptions in 4 straight games. Then, after quarterbacks avoided him for the next 3, he managed to pick off at least 1 pass from weeks 8 through 13, including 2 in a mid-season victory over the rival Seahawks. It was clear that him and his nickname made QBs more uncomfortable than your creepy uncle did at your 6th birthday party. What's so impressive about that season is that Hayes didn't rest on his laurels after the regular season. He kept inappropriately touching passes well into the postseason. The Raiders were a wild card entry into the tournament, and Hayes gathered 5 interceptions, including a pick 6 in the Raiders' 3 playoff victories on the AFC side of the bracket. Not counting the postseason, Hayes' 13 picks are a record for the Super Bowl era, but not throughout all of NFL history. In 1952, Dick Night Train Lane, a good nickname, picked off 14 passes in just 12 games. Oh, and that was his rookie season. In Lane's era, however, you could literally molest receivers. I mean, his signature move was to clothesline ball carriers, and this was well before the Mel Blount rule outlawed manhandling people out on the field.
8-year-olds, dude.
Of course, Hayes' 13 picks aren't exactly beyond reproach. He slathered his hands and forearms with stickum, which as the name suggests made it easier to catch the football. Coincidentally, a year later in 1981, the NFL banned the substance for everyone but Jerry Rice. Maybe he should have been nicknamed the Sticky Bandit.
We're the Sticky Bandits.
And finally, our last record breaker who fell short, TJ Watt. Records that are broken in 2021 and beyond will always have something of an asterisk to them, ever since the NFL added a 17th game to their schedule. But one record will always have an asterisk, and not because of an extra game. When Michael Strahan broke Mark Gastineau's single-season record in 2001, the final takedown felt, well, a little too easy. Like your mom, heyo. Brett Favre gave himself up like a resident of Mississippi giving up their welfare check for a volleyball court, and Strahan took the crown. Both parties deny that that this final sack was prearranged, but if I was Mark Gastineau, I'd launch my own investigation into the matter. Didn't come that easy for TJ Watt in 2021. Despite the extra game on the schedule, Watt was only available for 15 of those games and still managed to tie Strahan's record set 2 decades earlier. You can argue that Watt's 22.5 sacks were more impressive given his 2-game absence, or you can make the case that the extra game on the schedule gave him a leg up to make up ground after missing a pair of games. But there's no question that when he needed those sacks to catch up to the Strahan, yes, we're calling him the Strahan, he got it done. In the penultimate game of the season against the Cleveland Browns, Watt cleaned up with 4 sacks, along with a pair of passes swatted down to boot. Needing 1 to tie and 2 to clear the record, Watt was only able to drop Ravens Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley once in Week 18, coming a Strahan-tooth gap away from the top of the leaderboard. And it's still kind of wild that it was TJ and not JJ that came oh so close. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment, and if you made it this far, effing subscribe. I am 5 Points Vids, and you made it to the next video.